Everything we do is going to be about winning. Okay, we're going to learn to do things the right way, and that's the only way we're going to do them. Because if it doesn't help us, we're not doing it, man. That's just as simple as it gets. Win the Super Bowl.
That's
I
good.
mean it too. You know, one of the things that the only reason you become a head coach in this league, in my opinion, is to win. That's it. That's the bottom line. If you do it for any other reason, you're wrong.
Hey football fans, welcome to the Washington Command Center. So we're here after another embarrassing loss, and we have to make some moves. We have to do something to make sure this is an era where this proud franchise can once again command respect. And what better way to kick off this new era than subscribing here to the first, the real, the OG Washington Command Center, so you can find your way back to some of the most opinionated and ice-cold calculated takes on all things Washington Commanders. And while you're at it, ring that bell, hit that like button. It's free to do, and it means a lot. Okay, so going into this game, I said our only hope was to make Jalen Hurts one-dimensional. And our defense, without Chase Young, without Phil Mathis, without our highest paid cornerback, William Jackson III, even without Chase's direct backup, James Smith-Williams, we did that. They stepped the hell up. And they made not just Jalen Hurts one-dimensional, they made this Philly team known for their devastating rushing attack one-dimensional. They held them to 72 yards on the ground. They contained Jalen to less rushing yards than Carson ended up with in a surprising turn of events. Honestly, even with some of the young cornerbacks making mistakes, if you want to call, them that, when, the alternative was giving up touchdowns in Wild Goose's case. Even with that, if Ron didn't have a senior moment, or possibly the flag got hung up on his keychain, if that doesn't happen, we could be looking at a defense giving up 75 less passing yards in that game. If Ron gets the flag out, it erases 45 yards on that non-catch Benjamin St. Juice squeezed Devontae Smith to the sideline on. And then in turn snuffs out a drive that they picked up 30 more yards and a touchdown on. And that would have made this an entirely different game. The defense kept us in this game and scored our first points and gave us opportunities to get back in this game by stopping Philly's powerful defense. And we couldn't do anything with that. The offensive line continued to play like trash, completely selling out on Wentz, giving up 9 sacks. Schweitzer taking over at center was a massive problem. I'm not seeing enough flack at him for this. The inconsistency of the snaps was horrible. And that was working in unison with the instant pressure that the offensive line gave up to completely cripple any chance of sustaining any type of offense. No protection for mid to long developing plays, and the level of attention that Carson had to pay to handling the snaps ruined any chance of any quick hitting offense, any kind of quick plays. So for all the trash being talked during the broadcast or by the fans afterwards about the shotgun or the long drops, they were a necessity because the O-line was getting beat instantly. It was a vicious cycle. He needed the space so Philly wouldn't be on him instantly. But then he had to deal with locating horrible ground ball snaps. It eliminated him being able to read the defense for any kind of quick pass. And on top of that, when Wentz somehow managed to make something happen, we ended up with these very uncharacteristic drops at the worst possible times. There were several first down passes just dropped. I mean, when everybody except Dax Milne drops a target, you should just pack it in for the day. Call it a day. Even with all this, the fans after the game upset me just as bad as the play on the field. I mean, I watched Fred Smoot's post-game show. People were calling for Heineke, trashing Wentz, which is crazy. I mean, if anything, Heineke's height could have maybe been beneficial because of Wes's low snaps. But there wasn't much Carson or any quarterback could have done in this situation. There were fans calling for Jack Del Rio's job still. Come on. With this depleted defense, they were the only reason we had a chance. As I said, if the ref wasn't blind, or if Ron's arthritis doesn't strike at the worst time, we're looking at a defense, down a lot of starters that would have held this media darling Philly offense to 70 yards rushing and about 250 yards passing and only 17 points. You can't ask for much more out of a defense in the modern NFL. Especially when that defense earned you 2 points in an extra possession with a safety. This offense has the quarterback and the weapons to put up 30 plus a game. It is not unreasonable if that defense shuts that offense down to even the 24 points that ended up, happening because of blind refs and slow Ron. Even with that, we should have been able. That should have been plenty for us to have won this game. The O-line full outsold, and the O-line just needs some talent. Now, another thing, I'm not going to get into the Dan Snyder trashing I saw in the comments either. I just want to say that the same fans trashing him wanted to get rid of even more of our players and just about all of our chances to build the team up around the next few years to get Russell Wilson. So just stop trashing him too. He had nothing to do with it. I really think this team has so much potential. Ron just needs to make some moves to fill in the cracks. Like, that's all he's got to do. We just got these little things that are completely screwing up everything else. Like I said before, veteran centers J.C. Treader and Austin Ryder are both out there. That is the clearest and quickest way to fix this line. We saw a dip in game 1 when Wes Schweitzer got hurt and then Turner stepped in. But we still had Chase at that point. In game 2, we saw how big a step down Trey Turner really was from Wes. But it wasn't until the very end of that game when Schweitzer went down. Then, worst of all, because Chase went down, we finally get Wes back. And instead of him being able to strengthen us at right guard, he has to play at center. And he does horribly there. So Chase's injury makes us weaker at 2 spots. So I think the easiest fix is signing a quality center like the ones I've mentioned. That lets Wes move back to right guard, where he's pretty great at. And, lets us get back to that week 1 type of offense before he got hurt. And it gives us at least someone that can give Carson consistent snaps so we can get more out of the offense. If West gets his snaps in check. I still think we need someone to step up for Turner. I mean, Eric Flowers is still out there. Also, quite surprisingly, Roquan Smith isn't the only high-end guy of interest for us that the Bears might be looking to trade. Rumors were second-year offensive lineman Tevin Jenkins, who's now playing very well at right guard, was rumored to be a possible trade candidate. And basically because he's not getting along with the coaches. And with the Bears still very much in the gaining assets part of their rebuild, I think they could be talked into moving on from the guy. They were looking for a bookend offensive tackle, for the future. And he's just much better suited to play guard. Less value for them moving forward. Maybe they want to get rid of him. Now, don't let the fact that he looks like Aisha from Cobra Kai's big brother fool you. This guy was my number one perfect Brandon Sheriff replacement in the 2021 draft. He was an absolute monster at Oklahoma State. And he definitely has that Cobra Kai mentality. Strike first, strike hard, show no mercy. This guy would just bury dudes. Now, he was a second-round pick last year, and he had a bit of a back injury, but he bounced back, changed positions, and he's looking pretty good. But still, with that, the most they could be asking for is a third-round pick. He was a second-rounder last year. They want to move on with him. They're going to have to take a loss. One-round loss isn't that bad. We got a comp pick coming for Sheriff. Perfect. Replace him with that. I would have no problem sending that third-rounder, Trey Turner, and paying both their salaries just to get him. They're looking for wide receivers too, apparently. So maybe sweeten the deal with Sims or Milne. Or you know what, even as much as I don't want to give up the guy, De'Ami Brown, a third rounder. So that's like 2 third rounders for your second rounder from last year. Sorry, but that would help us out a lot more. Now, it would be a dream come true if we could just send him a third and Trey and get him, but whatever it takes. I mean, that'd be a pretty sweet deal for both sides. I really think Mayhew should be poking and prodding into all of these rumors out there, seeing if we can get something done. If we can't, honestly, I wouldn't be against them just putting some massive human beings in there. If for nothing else than just to slow the pass rush down. I think Cosme has the athleticism to, keep everything on the outside, on the right side away. He had a rough game this week, but I really think that came down to more of him not trusting the guy beside him and not knowing where he needed to, cover, defend. But there are guys out there that we could put next to him, just massive human beings that could fill that space and just let him be the agile piece that mirrored on the outside. We could bring in former Bama offensive guard that I mentioned in a previous video, 350-pound Deontay Brown. We could bring him in there. Nobody's going to move that guy out of the spot. There's also rookie undrafted free agent offensive tackles in Bam Olaseni and Obina Eze. Both are 6'7". Obina Eze is 335 pounds. Bam Olaseni is 340 pounds. And they both have freakishly long 36-plus inch arms. These are numbers that are super impressive for NFL offensive tackles. they'd be ridiculous at guard. Both these guys only have a few years of football experience, period. Obina Eze was from Nigeria. He came over in middle school to play basketball, I think. And Bam Olasini's from the UK. He came over in college to play football, so he's only been at it a couple years. Eze has a little more experience. But I don't think either of those guys have the technique to play outside yet. But that size and that length on the interior would be an absolute nightmare for defensive tackles. Eze is especially, like, he's agile when he's in motion, so he could be a real asset to the run game too. Like I said, he was a basketball player. Now, I talked about both these guys, leading into the draft. They were guys I liked. Obini Eze was actually comped by NFL, like the NFL website, to Cornelius Lucas. So, hey, let him study under Lucas there. And while I'd prefer a good, veteran player, these guys have the raw characteristics that could be like a massive boost. I mean, we've already got a massive 6'8" offensive guard in Andrew Norwell, and he could help these guys, make a big impact for us on the inside. Like, that's the perfect teacher to be like, look, this is how you do it on the inside, guys. I don't know, I'm just spitballing here, but we really need to do something. All the potential this team has is being drained from the loss of Roulier, really, which weakens us at those two positions, and it throws the whole line and the whole offense out of whack. So forget next man up. We need to get in some new guys. Get some new guys in. We can't lose back-to-back games in the division. We just can't do it. Now, I'm still very hopeful because I see all the potential in the team. I'm not getting doom and gloom like everybody else. And I see a clear path to righting the ship. Now, I prefer it gets done quickly. But, hey, it's something that could work itself out naturally, too. Trey Turner, with a bit more, time to build chemistry, he could get it together. Wes Schweitzer could get back into the rhythm of, snapping the ball. He did pretty good last year. He could get back into the rhythm of that. Everything could be fine. But I just want this staff to show a bit of urgency in this new era of Washington football. I want them to do everything they can to make this era one where we can command respect. And there's no better way to kick off this era than subscribing here to the Washington Command Center so you can find your way back to some of the most opinionated and ice-cold calculated takes on all things Washington Commanders. Remember to like the video, ring that bell, and if you listen this long, I love y'all. Peace.